Hello, Dove Birds, and welcome to another moment of hope and inspiration. Whether you are a returning viewer or joining us for the first time, I am so grateful that you are here today. In our last message, we talked about finding hope in the midst of chaos and embracing the light of Jesus. Today, I want to take that a step further by exploring another profound gift from God that gives us strength even in our weakest moments, His grace. We've all experienced times when we feel drained, inadequate, or overwhelmed by life challenges. It's in those very moments when God's grace shines the brightest. The world often tells us that we have to be strong all the time, that weakness is something to be ashamed of. But in God's kingdom, it's in our weakness that His strength is made perfect. So today, I want to invite you on a journey to discover the power of God's grace, how it lives up when we feel we can't go on, how it gives us the courage to keep moving forward, and how embracing His grace can transform our lives. Grace. It's a word that we often hear in church, in prayers, and even in daily conversations. But what does it really mean? The Bible defined grace as the unmerited favor of God, His kindness and love given to us, not because we deserve it, but because He chooses to pour it out freely. One of the most beautiful descriptions of grace is found in 2 Corinthians 12:9. The Apostle Paul, a man who endured so many trials, wrote these words, "But he said to me, 'My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness.'" Think about that for a moment. God's power, His infinite, unshakable power, is made perfect in our weakness. It's when we acknowledge our need for Him that He steps in and shows us just how strong His love really is. If you're feeling weak, if you're feeling like you don't have strength to take another step, know this: you are right where God's grace can meet you. When we reach the end of our own strength, that's where God's grace begins. Let me share a story of someone whose life was transformed by the power of grace. Meet Sarah, a single mother of two who was struggling to make ends meet. With bills piling up and her job on the line, she felt like she was drowning. She tried to keep a brave face, but the weight of her circumstances left her feeling hopeless. One night, when she was at her lowest, she fell to her knees and cried out to God, "Lord, I can't do this alone. I need your help. Please give me strength." In that moment, she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time: peace. It wasn't that her situation changed overnight, but her heart did. She knew that God's grace was with her. Slowly, opportunities started to come her way. People reached out for help, doors opened, and by little, Sarah was able to turn things around. But the greatest change wasn't just her circumstances, it was her heart. She realized that God's grace had carried her through her darkest moments, giving her strength when she had none of her own. Sarah's story is just one example of countless ways God's grace shows up in our lives. Sometimes it's a quiet assurance. Other times it's bursts of strength when we feel like we cannot go on. But His grace is always there, always sufficient. So how do we receive this incredible gift of grace? It begins with humility, acknowledging that we need God's help, that we can't do it on our own. James 4:6 reminds us, "But He gives more grace." That is why Scripture says, "God opposes the proud but shows favor to the humble." When we come to God with open hands and open hearts, admitting our need for Him, He pours out His grace in abundance. It's not something we earn, it's a gift that He gives freely because He loves us. Living in the power of God's grace means surrendering our weakness to Him and allowing our strength to work through us. It's not about being perfect or having it all together. It's about leaning on the one who is perfect and letting His power shine through our brokenness. So, the next time you feel weak, remember this: God's grace is there to lift you up. His power is made perfect in your weakness. Let His grace be your strength. Let it be the wind that carries you when you can't walk on your own. My friends, wherever you're right now, whatever you're going through, I want you to know that God's grace is enough. It is enough to heal, to restore, to strengthen, and to carry you through. Embrace His grace and let it transform your life. Thank you for watching me today. If this message touched your heart, please consider sharing it with someone who might need a reminder of God's love. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe for more encouraging content. Let's continue to walk in His grace, knowing that in our weakness, His strength is made perfect. Until next time, stay blessed, stay hopeful, and remember, God's grace is always sufficient.